I'm Paul. I'm Devin. Together, we're Dads and Dice, two dads who like to play some games during our free time.
That's right, and today we are reviewing the spirited strategy game, Distilled, by Paverson Games. Distilled is a 1 to 5 player card-driven strategy game. Over the course of 7 rounds, you are going to be collecting ingredients, items, upgrades, all to try to become the master distiller. Each round is going to be broken into 4 phases. First up is the market phase. This is when you will be buying those upgrades, buying your items and ingredients and things that you need to actually distill your different recipes, and then possibly buying some new recipes because you don't want to just be making gin and moonshine all game. After the market phase, it's the distilled phase. And this is where you will be adding water, yeast, and some sort of sugar, whether it's grains, plants, or fruits. And you'll take all of those cards, you're going to mix them up, you're going to remove the top head, remove the bottom trash, and whatever's left is the actual spirit that you make. After that, it's the sell phase, where you will sell either the spirit you just made or any aged spirits that you placed into your warehouse from previous rounds. And there you'll collect your spirit label rewards as well as whatever points and value that spirit has brought. Lastly, it's the age phase. This is where you're going to age and add in all of those unique flavors that the game has brought into your aging spirits in your warehouse, hopefully to add more value and points to them. You'll do this 7 times, and the person with the most spirit points in the end is the winner.
Yeah, so let's talk about the actual theme of this game. The theme is super strong throughout it. You and I, we've talked about it. We're not the biggest drinkers or anything like that, but the theme still works really well for us. It's something that is just, it feels really intuitive. It feels like the theme is just woven throughout those mechanics, and it just works really well.
Yeah, it all makes sense. Everything you're doing makes sense. Mm-hmm. In that market phase, you're buying the ingredients that you need, mm-hmm. right? You move on to that distill phase, and that's whenever you're going to remove the head, which actually happens in the distillation process. That is the kind of poisonous part of the alcohol. Mm-hmm. And then the bottom, it's the trash, it's the leftovers, right? So it's just, it all feels really well. Then you sell it. When you make something more valuable than others, it sells for more. It gets more points, mm-hmm. right? You add in glass bottles and that adds into the points, right? You put it in a nice oaken wooden barrel and that does something other than your standard steel barrel, right? It's just all the mechanics go with the theme really well.
Yeah, and it's a game that I feel like it honestly reminds me a lot of like a viticulture, where it's, if you don't get it to the table very often, it's a game that once you look through that reference sheet, you're going to know exactly what to do because it just makes so much sense. It's very intuitive. It's exactly like Devin said. Oh yeah, of course I need to buy ingredients. Oh yeah, now I need to make my drink. Oh, now I need to sell it. Oh, now I need to age it. It just makes so much sense that it's just a game that I could honestly keep it on the shelf for, I don't know, a couple months and get it back to the table and be like, oh yeah, I remember this. This is something that it's just super intuitive to play.
Let's talk a little bit about the actual gameplay, kind of strategy portion of the thing. This game has a lot of what I would say is fun mechanics. It's the phases are nice. They're each unique. They're each different, and in each of them, they've got good mechanics, right? The way the market board, the basic market board works, right? It's limiting. There's some cheap stuff in there, but it only lets you buy a couple things each round, right? So then you have to actually go out and buy the other, either premium ingredients, the bottles, the barrels, the upgrades, right? And it actually makes it makes you think. It makes an actual strategy of what do I need this round? What am I trying to make this round? What am I going to spend my money on? How do I spend that money efficiently to ultimately turn it into points? Mm-hmm. And then how does that money make me more money at the end of the round for next round. And so there is a lot of good gameplay that all really happens in that market phase.
Yeah, and talking about the money and all that, I do feel like at the beginning of the game, you're very resource starved, right? You only start with, what, 3 coins? It depends on whoever you have for your starting, for your distiller. But, that first round, you're just getting a couple things. But then eventually it kind of snowballs. You start getting this upgrade that lets you get more income on the next phase, or you get this other upgrade that lets you get something from the basic items for free, right? So it kind of snowballs and it starts feeling a little bit more loose, right? You can start doing more actions. And I really enjoy that, to where it just kind of opens up towards the end of the game, and it opens up to what your strategy is.
And then you move from that phase to the distill phase. And this phase is a unique phase, I'll say. You build your washback and you put in all the ingredients, and then it adds, for a Euro game, a kind of heavy amount of luck in you're pulling off the top, off the bottom. And I heard it best from another reviewer that I saw, in that it's not necessarily push your luck, it's a hedge your bets type of gameplay. I think that's unique, may not necessarily be for everybody, so I don't know. For me personally, I'm very mixed on it.
Yeah, and for me, I very much enjoy that. But as we've mentioned a couple times, I'm really into that thematic gameplay, that thematic integration, and that just fits perfectly into the game, because that's exactly what you do at a distillery. I know for you, after a couple of our gameplays, you're telling me I had a 25% chance of this happening, and it happened both times, or all 3 times. And yeah, that can be super defeating. That does not feel good. So I think as long as you know that going in, you understand what kind of player you are, that will really either sell the game for you or not so much.
Yeah, to me, it's very odd that it mixes what I consider a very good market phase, a very good strategy, decision, what am I buying, how am I being efficient, and then it throws this heavy luck element in there, and it ends up being, it's a zero-sum game. I get unlucky. In that case, Paul is like, oh, well, that's good, right? Like, or vice versa, like, I just, put very little sugars in there and none of them come out, and I build exactly what I want, and the luck goes my way. And then the other player is like, oh, well, that stinks that he got paid off on something that he shouldn't have. So I don't know. For me, that's kind of a stinging point. It doesn't totally destroy the game for me by any means, but definitely something I want to mention if you're a player that kind of falls in that you don't want all of your strategy that you just built in a round to come down to luck. It is there.
Yeah, and then that moves us on to the sell phase, and I really enjoy this phase too, because like you had mentioned, this is where kind of some set collection comes into play, right? Because you've got these different glass bottles that you're trying to collect, and you want to collect some from the same region. That gives you some victory points, or if you collect them from different regions, you get another victory point. So again, going back to that theme in the game, a bottle that's going to be a little glass pig or whatever it was, right? Like, that's obviously going to sell for more. So if you have that, you're going to get more money, which again is going to snowball back into the market phase. And I really enjoyed that. And then going into the aging phase, that's where your flavors come in and all of that. And I think it's pretty funny. They've got some good ones in there. They've got, the manure and the skunk, and then they've got, the traditional, wooden barrels or whatever. And the themes behind that is maybe you just bought a barrel from a barn, right? And you don't know what they had in there, and sorry, that's the flavors that you get.
Yeah. So going into the replayability of the game has a ton of variable setup. It comes with, I can't remember the exact number, but I think it's like 8 or 10 different flight lists that add different spirits that you're going to make. Each of those flight lists has different kind of starting cards, which are your kind of unique abilities. They each have their own special recipe. And I think there is a ton of variable setup. However, I'm not sure that actually translates to a ton of replayability and varied gameplay.
Yeah, with that being said, it's like Devin said, your starting resources are going to be different, but you're still going to go to the market phase and you're still trying to get the ingredients that you need. Yeah, the recipes are different, but we both have the same recipes, right? So we're going to be going for, the fruits, the plants, whatever we have. We're always going to be going for our master spirit, whatever that is. So, yeah, there's going to be different ingredients that we're going for, but we're still going for ingredients, we're still selling the spirits, and we're still wanting to age them, right? So the game flow is going to be the same. It's just going to be different ingredients, different upgrades.
Yeah, so I think, if you're a person like Paul and I, and Paul mentioned this is a game that we could put up for a couple months, get right back on the table, and learn pretty quick, I think that's not really a problem. You set the thing up, it is slightly different than the last time you played a month ago, 2 months ago.
But not enough to not remember the rules.
Right. But we played this a couple times, like back to back, or close to. And we were playing, ultimately, you get halfway through the game on that second round and you're like, I'm playing the same game that I was just playing, and there's not a whole lot of change there. So it definitely favors being able to put up on the shelf, get back, quickly set up, not necessarily quickly set up, but quickly relearn. And then, I'm going to play a different flight list than I did last time, and we're good to go.
Yeah, so let's talk about what's in the box here. Devin said not so quickly to set up. I would agree with that, but they did the best that they could to get this to the table as soon as possible. Honestly, when I opened up this game, I was blown away by the organization that was in there, right? You have little containers for all the recipe cubes, the coins. You've got your own little plastic insert for all of the labels on there. And then you've even got space for the expansion labels in there, and everything has its spot. And man, it was awesome to be able to just see that and pull it out, give it to each player. Again, it is a bit of a setup, but they made it as easily as possible to set up, and I absolutely love the organization in it.
Yes, I love this kind of, I'm not going to say push, but this transition that developers have gone to having trays, having organizers. No longer is it you're punching out a whole bunch of pieces.
And putting them in bags.
And putting them in bags because they don't even provide those, right? If you didn't do that, it's just pieces in a cardboard box. And so I like that, a lot of games are going to the trays, and this one does it nicely. And the trays, honestly, they're thematic with it, right?
They sure are.
It's a bunch of barrels of different sizes, and it just works really well.
Yeah, so I think that's really all we've got here on Distilled. It's a game that I definitely recommend. You just have to know what kind of player you are going into it. Are you okay with some luck? Are you really into the theme? If you're good with that, definitely recommend it. I think it's an awesome game. I think it's really great. I'm definitely going to be getting back to the table.
Yeah, so that is all we have for our review of Distilled. As always, please like, comment, subscribe. All those things help us. Help our channel grow. We'll see you on the next one.